you know, as much as we love Yeat, like Yeat's sound might sound, you know, old or whatever in 6 months, 12 months, whatever. But this Pusha T album, I think, like in 12 years, it's probably still going to sound just as good. Welcome back, everybody, to
the Soul Serum Podcast.
I am your You Ordered Diet Coke. That's a joke, right? Host Playboi. I am joined by my How Does He Does It co-host Fiki.
You are now tuned in to the number one Yeat podcast in the world. You already know the vibes. That actually is kind of a relevant soundbite today, talking about the number one Yeat podcast. Hold on. Wires were a little tangled up there. This is episode 69. Nice.
Let's go.
Nice, right? Everybody's favorite number. Today, we are going to be talking about the album of the year so far. We are halfway through May right now, almost halfway through the year, so I thought this would be an appropriate time to talk about some albums that came out, since a bunch of bigger albums have come out in the past couple of weeks from more prominent artists. So, me and Fiki are going to go through some of these albums, going to have a discussion about them, how they sit against other albums. And after that, we can talk about maybe some more of the low-key albums and maybe some of the projected albums to be released later this year. How does that sound to you, Fiki?
Sounds fantastic.
Okay. Now, I want to also make a disclaimer here. This is not like a complete list of all the albums that have come out this year. I chose the albums that were like from artists that I think are, you know, in our realm of podcast, you know what I mean? Like stuff that our audience is going to listen to. So for anybody, for Neil, even who's going to be like, why isn't the Saba album on here? It's just like, I don't really think a lot of our audience listens to Saba. Like, I know it's a highly critically acclaimed album, but like, I'm just not, it just wouldn't make sense here. I have 8 albums here, Fiki. I'm just gonna go ahead and list them all off and name them all. You tell me which one you want to talk about first. Okay. I have Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I have Future, I Never Liked You. Jack Harlow, Come Home, The Kids Miss You. Lil Durk, 7220. Also, I just realized my Google Docs auto-corrected Durk to drunk. Lil Drunk. Pusha T, It's Almost Dry. Gunna, DS Forever. Yeat, 2 Alive. And Kanye West, Donda 2.
Okay.
Out of all of these, Fiki, first of all, what is your personal favorite out of all of these albums here?
That's a tough one. Honestly, The Future.
The Future album.
The Future album.
Ooh.
The Future and Yeat album are pretty close.
I was not expecting you to say the Future album.
Interesting.
What was it though about the Future album? Because I mean, you know me, I'm just a Future stan. I'm going to always defend my Toxic King. But like, what about the Future album, I Never Liked You? What made it your favorite out of all of these?
It wasn't that it was like refreshing. I feel like it was just like refreshing for like what I'd been listening to. Mm-hmm. It just kind of like brought everything to like a newer spot. So like for me personally, yeah, I feel like that is my favorite.
Like you'd been listening to so much of this like one kind of music, to hear Future come back and do his like Future bag, you know what I mean? Like it felt refreshing to you in that sense.
Yep.
That's pretty much how I felt about the album too when I was listening to it. I was like, this isn't anything like pioneering. Future isn't like reinventing the wheel or anything, but as a Future fan, to hear him just come back and just like, you know, do what he does best, it's just a solid album. You know what I mean?
It is.
Not a whole lot of frills around it. Not a whole lot of just like random things to kind of pump it out into the mainstream. I just thought it was just like a really good Future album. So I'm happy that we're on the same page on that. Cause you know,
this podcast was already turned, but here's a bell.
We also have to talk about Yeat to Alive, as we are the #1 Yeat podcast in the world. To be honest, out of all of these albums that I have listed here, this one has by far got the most replay value out of any of these. Yeah, Alive. To Alive, I think I have played the most. Now, of course, like the future Kendrick and Jack Harlow album have not had a lot of time to like get a lot of rotations in my music, but like I will probably listen to Alive like at some point today. You know what I mean? It is still on rotation for me.
Narcotics gets a play a day minimum.
Specifically narcotics. What like about this though? I mean, you know, we're 2 Yeat fans, and I think most of the people who are listening to this podcast probably like Yeat, but what about To Alive made it such a good Yeat project, you know?
I think that it was his earlier music and like kind of what he was trying to pursue, plus what he ended up getting a lot of success on, collabed and kind of just like shown he just improved. He stepped up.
Yeah. He really sharpened his knives for this one. I think probably out of all of these, that's my favorite at this moment. That opinion could change over time, but at the moment, Yeat to Alive is still getting the most plays out of all of these for me. Another album that I would like to talk about on this list too, before we talk about the more recent ones, is the Pusha T album. It's Almost Dry. Man, fucking, what is he says in the one song, he's like, y'all looking at top 5, I'm looking at top me. I'm like that's exactly how I feel about the Pusha T album. Every time I listen to it, I'm just like, okay, I know that he's been doing the cocaine rap thing for like 20 years now or whatever, but he is so good at it that I don't want to hear anything else from him. You know what I mean? Like, and It's Almost Dry just proved that again. The production choices, the songs, the crazy claims about he's cocaine's this, or like the 10 crack commandments and I'm Moses or whatever the fuck. I'm just like, dude, he's still doing it. You all listened to this out. It was you and John were on your way back from Atlanta when this album came out.
Yeah.
So you all listened to it in the car.
All the way through. The last song we listened to like while we were in some cool I pray for my
like it has Labyrinth, like the people who did the Euphoria soundtrack on it.
Just like through some cool landscape, and it was really very surreal. Yeah, it was really sick.
It's one of those moments where like you happen to be listening to an album in the right location at the right time, and it like enhances the experience.
Yeah. Through like Rainbow Peak, Mount Rarity.
Mount Rarity. Was that really the name of where you were at? Oh, okay. Is that in Georgia?
No, y'all
were in Tennessee?
I don't know. Along the way. It was along the way.
Where? Tennessee, yeah. Oh, okay. John said they were in Chernobyl. No, I really like the Pusha T album. And one of the questions that I want to like think about as we're talking about some of these albums is like, what album do you think is going to still be getting played in 6 months? And I think the Pusha T album is probably still going to be getting airtime in like 6 months. I can't say that for every other album on this list. But
that album felt like a timeless album almost. Like,
I totally agree.
Like that is gonna last, I think, even longer than just the 6 months.
Yeah, because like, you know, as much as we love Yeat, like Yeat's sound might sound, you know, old or whatever in 6 months, 12 months, whatever. But this Pusha T album, I think, like in 12 years, it's probably still going to sound just as good as it does in April and May of the year that it was released, you know?
I 100% agree.
Okay, let's talk about the 2 big ones on this list that both came out in the preceding weeks of this podcast. Jack Harlow, Come Home, The Kids Miss You, and Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and The Big Steppers. Let's talk about Jack Harlow first. There's a lot of hate on the internet for this album. A lot of hate for Jack Harlow in general right now. I think they're jealous. I think it's a culmination of like a lot of reasons as to why Jack Harlow's getting hated on and why this album keeps getting called mid and this and that. And like, I'm always be honest, I don't really think this is the best Jack Harlow project. I don't really think it was my personal favorite, but also I think a lot of the music on this album is not for me. In the sense of like Side Piece and My Little Secret. Those are songs for women. And that's cool. Jack has like the demographic of 16 to 22-year-old women by the fucking chokehold right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's what a lot of people are failing to realize when I'm looking at like the discourse of this album and how people are talking about it. It's like, yo, he's not fucking making songs for like for people who are listening to like Autumn and Summers and like people who are, even more on the more traditional side of hip hop. Like, I think he's making a song for a certain demographic that like, quite frankly, doesn't like to share their opinions about music in a nerdy way like a lot of the people in our community do.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it quite like that, but yeah, I agree. I agree.
Like people immediately were just like, this is mid, this is da 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 da. I'm like, dude, like I don't know if this is for you.
And I think like also people aren't the audience, and part of it is people don't not understand, but people aren't paying attention to like the progress that he's had too. I feel like that's a big part of the quality of the album is that like he's stepped up every time, and you can like tell that he like picked up a book because he's he's maturing.
That's a really good point. Like, we're not going to get that Jack Harlow of yesteryear because like, he was hungry. And now he is like, he got super crazy famous off of What's Poppin', and then even took another step. And I feel like a lot of this album is him like reconciling with like, I'm at a level in life where not a lot of people get to, and I'm just some 23-year-old, 24-year-old from Kentucky. Like, how do I navigate all this? And like, and you know what? When songs have that subject matter, a lot of times they're not bangers.
And like he even said in an interview that like he wasn't trying to like push the envelope of hip hop yet. Like that's not what he's like trying to achieve. He was just trying to like, I guess, progress his songwriting and his career.
I think also too, just being like a white guy who is surrounded by black people all the time, like that's just a huge way for people, like that's like a huge entryway for people to hate on him, is just like him. Every like major white figure in hip hop goes through this. Eminem, fucking Paul Wall, Adam 22 for that matter. Like they all, have to experience this moment of pushback from like the hip hop community. And I think Jack's going to make it through because he is in the business of like making music that lasts, not just music for the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's definitely in it for like himself, like his own personal, like he loves it.
Yeah, I don't think at this point in his career, none of that shit bothers him.
Yeah,
would be my guess. I don't think he's really too pressed about people. Like the video of like the two black dudes carrying him over the mud at Churchill Downs, which
I have not seen that.
Have you not seen that, dude? He didn't like, I guess he didn't want to get his shoes dirty in the mud, and these two that happen to be African-American gentlemen hoist him up on their shoulders and walk him across the mud. And I'm not gonna lie, out of context, probably looks pretty bad. He's in a white suit. Like it probably looks bad. But it's just like, I don't think any of that shit like really bothers him because he knows that he's coming from a genuine, authentic place. But like in this microwave culture that we're in right now, and like where it's like fun for everybody to gang up and hate on somebody, like I think Jack Harlow is just an easy target for that kind of hate. You should watch the video after this.
I'm definitely gonna check it out. That's so funny.
It does look good. Like I kept seeing TikToks of like that video playing and like then the dog with the side eye. That's like,
oh yeah.
this shit's funny as fuck. Okay, let's talk about the other big album that came out 72 hours ago. Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Steppers. This album has been... People have been more divided on this album than I expected them.
Interesting.
To be.
I haven't really paid attention to. I just know like my few friends who've listened to the album. I just know that their opinions. I haven't really checked out the like Twitters.
Well, what do you think? Before I want to bring up a couple of points about how people are talking about this album. But what do you think personally about this album?
So I listened to it 2 times now, all the way through. I'd rate it like a 7.5 to like an 8.5, somewhere in there. I'm gonna give like B because I've only listened to it 2 times, so it's got some wiggle room.
Now, with that being said, do you think some of his other albums score higher than that on your scale? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. I think out of the most recent albums, this is probably the most like. I'm gonna say timeless. I feel like it's gonna age. It's gonna stay, because it's Kendrick Lamar, so it's gonna stay relevant for a long time. Like everything he puts out, I feel like he puts out with purpose
for sure.
So and this album just feels like there's a lot of like purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's gonna age better than most of maybe Donda 2.
I don't know. Donda 2 is kind of shaky. I just think in like the sense of how it's been released and everything too. But what are your circle of friends who have also listened to this album? What's the general consensus?
They love it.
They love it.
Big Kendrick stans.
I'm seeing a lot on the internet. Fucking maybe I shouldn't pay attention to it, but I have been paying attention to it. First of all, let me just get this point out of the way. I almost want to withhold my comments from this album because I've seen how people are talking about this album on the internet and they're just going to look at me and be like, fuck you, you're white, this album isn't for you. And like, sure, that's valid. I wouldn't argue with that, but like, I am going to say my comments on the album. I don't give a fuck anyway. A lot of people on the internet have mixed reviews on this, and I think... Again, it's a combination of many things. For me personally, like one of my friends who I really like trust their opinion with music, they were like, I'm surprised you're fucking with this album. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's fucking Kendrick Lamar. Like, what do you mean? He was like, well, I think musically it's really good, but lyrically it's kind of falls short. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't think it's quite as sophisticated as maybe some of the other Kendrick albums like To Pimp a Butterfly or Damn, obviously, like, but this album is so much about like introspection and self-reflection that I think it's okay to be a little bit more elementary lyrically because he's working through some issues on the paper. You know what I mean? As he's rapping, he's literally learning about himself. And I think another big thing is the song Auntie Diaries, where he's talking about his aunt who transitioned, and he uses like the F word, the F slur for gay people. If you don't know what that slur is, go look it up. I'm not going to say it. And I think a lot of people, a lot of queer people especially, have really been against that in a sense of like, you could have this discourse about like, you know, trans people or queer people, but you don't have to use these words. You don't have to, you know, claim ignorance and this and that. And I, you know, what I say on it probably doesn't matter since I'm a straight person, but I think it is a way to like open up discussion about trans people or queer people like in a larger audience that maybe wouldn't normally talk about that stuff. So I think it's an overall positive thing, but you know. So
from your understanding of the song, like it's kind of my understanding is like don't say the F slur.
Yeah.
Because okay.
Yeah. But Kendrick used to say it. as he's like saying in the song, like, you know, because we didn't know what it meant and this and that. So I think there's just like, I think this album, as with most great art, because I still think this album is great. I still think Kendrick Lamar is like a true artist, very purposeful, like you said. I think as with most good art, it's obviously never black and white. Like Kendrick is weaving on a bunch of complex issues. He hasn't talked to us directly in like 5 years until now, you know? So I think this album, as it should be, is like it's not like everybody's like, this is amazing. Like there's a lot of people who say it's amazing, but there's a lot of people who are questioning it. And I think that's good. Like I think good art needs to have a back and forth like that. I think the album as a whole is like really progressive. I guess so too. Very, very. I'm glad that Kendrick opened up that like part of his mind to everybody after, you know, I'm glad that he's sharing what feels like his personal thoughts. And I'm sure they are. It's his music, it's his art. But yeah, I'm glad he's sharing that. He's definitely, it's crazy because he's discussing very personal issues, but he's also discussing very widespread issues from his own personal standpoint. Universal truths, I guess, is like universals. The first song, Unified in Grief, right? He's like, we all grieve different. I grieve different, you know? Like, and I think that was like a perfect way to open the album too, you know? So yeah, I think overall it's a great album. But you know, it's just, with most great art, a lot of people, it's polarizing. It's polarizing in a way. You know, what if Yeat brought up his trans uncle or aunt on an album? I will say Narcotics, the Yeat song Narcotics. Young KO has a progressive bar, very progressive. If you have made it this far in the podcast, stop it right now. Pause the podcast. Go listen to Narcotics by Yeat featuring Young KO. We need to know, does he say, I run through bitches that's trans, I'm into that? Because, you look, no problem with that. If you like trans women, man, that's great. He says it. But that's just like kind of crazy. You would just go for it in the middle of the song. So I just need y'all to let me know if that's what he's saying in the song or not. There's zero internet clarification on this as well. Like there's not like the Lyric Genius and the Google lyrics, they've changed like twice. Like it was Estonians, I think, and then it was and now it's Trends. But I think we all know what he really said, and I'm really happy that he was able to do that on a song. I'm glad that was his outlet. Okay, before we talk about some albums that are rumored to come out this year, are there any low-key or underground albums that I didn't put in this top 8 that you want to talk about? I think I haven't heard a lot of word on the Action Bronson album, and it was like amazing. The samples like had me in another world. Like it was crazy. It was like the lyric. It was great all around. I loved it. You know, I'm a huge Action Bronson fan, have been for a couple of years now, and I agree with you. The album is just fucking solid. Like, I think Action Bronson is at a space in his career where like he's got his circle of fans. He's got this grouping of fans, and he doesn't really care if any more people join the circle or not, because he knows what this circle of people likes, and he's just gonna feed us every time. And I think he's also in a part of his career. He's like how old? Like in his mid 30s, probably. Yeah, probably 40. mid 30s. I'd say. You know, he's like focusing on getting healthy and being like a. So I think his life is a little more revolved around like his personal life. Definitely, and just being like, you know, happy with where he is, and he's 38. Yeah, he's 38. And just being it, you know. I think he still has like something that that's gonna go insane. Like he's gonna do something. I think it just is. It's a little bit away. Like it's got a yeah. I mean, and he's proved himself as somebody who is willing to change and evolve. Maybe not musically, but just like him as a person. So like, if 10 years from now, Action Bronson like made a crazy hit, I don't think we'd be that surprised because he's Action Bronson. I think Action Bronson is gonna be an artist that is around like making music for my kids, like for my kids, not just music I'm showing them, but for my kids. Yeah. I think that's going to be. I fucking hope so. Oh yeah. I ordered the duck with the grape poupon in the. Okay, let's talk about some albums that are rumored to be released this year. Just quick hitters, quick thoughts about these, because a lot of these are alleged, a lot of these are rumored. I don't even know if these will come out. This is just what the internet's talking about. I have 5 albums.
Let's hear it.
Playboi Carti.
Okay. Music.
The name of the album is called Music.
It's called
he
Music.
said
Okay.
that's the name of the album.
Yikes.
I have A$AP Rocky, All Smiles, Lil Uzi Vert, The Pink Tape, Trippie Redd, A Love Letter to You 5, and the highly anticipated Travis Scott Utopia. Now I have which of these albums do you think is coming out by the end of this year, and which of these albums is not coming out by the end of the year? I have an answer, but I want to know what you say.
I think honestly the most reliable on this list is Trippie Redd. Like, I think he's the only person who will actually drop music. Like we know he's dropping that this year.
Dude, we are locked in, because that was exactly my reasoning. I'm like, I can't trust anybody else on this list. But Trippie Redd will probably put out A Love Letter to You 5. He will probably do that. Shout out to Trippie. Like, Playboi Carti in the XXL magazine interview where he says that the album's called Music said that it's coming out this year, but like, I don't fucking trust that guy.
No,
I love him. I don't fucking trust him though. I don't trust him. A$AP Rocky, All Smiles. He just released the first single for it. I'd say it's probably going to come out, but he's in the middle of like some legal troubles. He's about to have a kid. Like, I don't know.
So I think, so thinking about Rocky now, without the jail part, if that was not a part of the equation, 100% dropping an album. He needs money for this baby with Rihanna. Like, are you kidding me? He needs a pony next year. Like, dude, he's got to save up. So.
And now,
but I don't know, maybe.
What about Lil Uzi, The Pink Tape? He just put something on Instagram like yesterday or 2 days ago, like, I'm in classic mode, saying something like that. I think
Yeat's inspired a lot of the artists by like with his quantity. So I hope that inspired Uzi to drop this year. I feel like he's been, I don't know.
The Yeat influence is crazy.
I felt a different like aura from his social media as of recent.
I think The Pink Tape will come out. I just wouldn't put money on it that it's going to come out by the end of this year. We got 6 months. That's a long time.
Yeah, we do have 6 months.
You know, and then Travis Scott Utopia, I believe, was going to be like the Astro World Fest was like the starting point of the rollout for that. Obviously, it went a little differently than he had planned. So at this point, it's like, I don't even know if he should drop it. I don't know if he is. There were like those billboards for Coachella that said like, you know, if you're looking for Utopia, turn around, Like I think he will probably end up dropping Utopia, but like, should he at this point though?
I think he's gonna wait till after the presidential election for real. I feel like that just I don't know why, but like I feel like that'll just like clear him of a little bit of like attention. So? Yeah,
like so. But the next presidential election is not until 2024.
Yeah. No, I think that's gonna be like a reset for him.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's got some time. He's still hot right now. You know?
He might drop like some singles or some clothes and stuff in the meantime, but like he's got to wait until we're all distracted by when Joe Biden goes against fucking Joe Rogan or whoever for the presidential election. By the way, if Joe Rogan runs for president, I'm running this clip back. I'm gonna tell everybody I predicted the shit.
That'd be crazy.
I was just trying to think of a random. Like, who would like Trump fans really be like, fuck yeah, here we go. Maybe.
Unfortunately, I'm not in the community, so I don't know. I don't know.
You're not a this.
Unfortunately, not a Trumper.
This was me like testing you to see if you were a Trumper on camera or not. I was like, is he gonna do it?
Does he know? Does he know?
Yeah, but that's not a bad idea though. Travis Scott waits until political turmoil happens. And he's like, hey, here's my album.
I think that's like a secret that a lot of people use, is like they'll wait till a big political thing and then they go on with their life.
Damn. Okay.
It makes sense though.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
smart.
I hope Utopia comes out. Like I still have hopes for that. Obviously, he's like the king of album rollout and aesthetic and whatnot. So like I have no doubt that it's going to be of quality. I just, is and when is it going to come out? It's just two different stories.
I don't think Playboi Carti is ever dropping music. I don't think he likes that name.
Okay, by the time that he drops it, it's gonna have a different name. It's gonna be different songs. He's gonna have moved on from this aesthetic. Like he's gonna be,
Do you know what the aesthetic for music is? Is it the psycho one?
I mean, in the interview for XXL, he had like this crazy like blue jumpsuit and like some of the face paint, not like the full killer clown thing, but just like some eye face paint and whatnot. I know Playboi Carti is not done dropping like in general music. I just, look, man, I waited like over 2 years for a whole lot of Red. This man, Tanner, who's not here, when I went to the Purple House for the show that one time, it was October of 2019, and his outfit was him dressed up as a clown in a shirt that still said "Still waiting for a whole lot of Red," and we had to wait until Christmas of 2020 for it. I don't trust that man. I don't know when he's gonna drop the album. He's gonna drop it at some point, but I don't know when. I don't know when. Carti, if you're watching this,
master manipulator,
hit me in the DMs. If you think Carti is going to drop at the end of 2022, let us know in our DMs on Twitter or Instagram at Soul Serum. Do you like that transition right there?
That was pretty good.
That's pretty good. Subscribe to us on YouTube, the main page, the TV page. PTSD by Lil Keel is out on the Soul Serum channel right now. Go run that up. Follow us on TikTok. We got like 3 TikTok accounts now. Just go type Soul Serum in. We got a couple of videos that are at the top of a couple of hashtags. It's just something light. We stream your music every Thursday on Twitch at 6:30. Come fuck with us in the Discord. Come fuck with us on Twitch. And here's to a bunch of albums coming out in the rest of 2022. As always, thank you for watching, and I am your host, Clay Bonine.
I'm Fiki.
And we will see you all next week. Deuces.